Picture this: 1,000 shades of amber and crimson spilling across the horizon, as if the sky itself is a canvas painted by some reckless artist who couldn't decide on just one color. That's the view from my bedroom window every evening, here at our countryside estate, where the world seems to hush itself just to listen to the wind weaving through the vineyards. I'm Dahlia, 36, and this sprawling, elegant home, half manor, half mystery, is where I've lived with my husband Victor for the past 8 years. It's a place of polished wood and high ceilings, of chandeliers that catch the light like frozen raindrops. But there's a shadow to it too, a quiet that sometimes feels heavier than it should. And at the heart of that shadow is the wine cellar. A locked door in the basement that Victor guards like it's a secret he's not ready to share with the world, or with me. I can't help but linger on that cellar in my thoughts. It's not just a room, it's a puzzle. Victor, you see, is a wine collector, a man who can spend hours talking about the notes of a vintage I can barely pronounce, his eyes lighting up in a way they rarely do when he looks at me these days. He's 42, tall and sharp-featured, with a kind of intensity that drew me to him when we first met, a magnetism that felt like it could pull the stars down if he wanted. But now, that intensity is poured into his bottles, his ledgers, his late-night trips downstairs with a key I've never held. I don't resent him for it, not exactly. It's more like standing on the edge of a room you're not invited into, watching someone you love disappear behind a door that's always just out of reach. Then there's Elias, Victor's business partner, who's been around since before I even came into the picture. Elias is the opposite of Victor in so many ways. Where Victor is all edges and quiet storms, Elias is warmth, easy laughter, the kind of person who can fill a room just by walking into it. He's in his late 30s, I think, with a quick wit and a habit of making you feel like you're the only one he's talking to, even in a crowd. I've always liked Elias, maybe more than I should admit out loud. He's a bridge between me and Victor sometimes, a reminder of what conversation can feel like when it's not weighed down by unspoken things. But even Elias doesn't go near the cellar. I've seen the way he glances at that door, curious but careful, like he knows better than to ask. Lately, I've been feeling the distance between Victor and me grow, not in miles, but in moments. It's in the way we sit at opposite ends of the dining table, the clink of silverware louder than our words. It's in the way I catch myself staring at the back of his head as he heads downstairs again, the cellar door clicking shut behind him. Tonight, though, there's a flicker of something different in the air as I stand in the kitchen. The scent of rosemary and garlic rising from the roast I've been tending to for hours. I'm not much of a cook, I'll admit, but there's a certain comfort in the rhythm of it, chopping, stirring, watching the oven like it might betray me if I turn away. The dining room is set, the long mahogany table gleaming under the soft glow of the chandelier, with 3 place settings laid out like a silent promise of connection. Victor's been in his study most of the day, buried in paperwork or whatever it is that keeps him so preoccupied, while Elias arrived an hour ago, his voice carrying through the house like a melody as he joked about the drive up from the city. I can hear them now, their low murmurs filtering through the walls, and I wonder what they're discussing. Business, probably, though with Elias it could just as easily be some absurd story meant to crack Victor's stoic shell. I slide the roast onto a platter, the heat warming my hands as I carry it to the table and call out to them. Victor emerges first, his tie loosened, a faint line of tension etched between his brows, though he offers me a small, distracted smile as he takes his seat at the head of the table. Elias follows, his grin wide and effortless, and he gives me a playful wink as he pulls out a chair. Dahlia, if this tastes half as good as it smells, I might just move in, he teases, and I can't help but laugh, even as I feel Victor's gaze flicker toward us, sharp and unreadable. We settle in, the clatter of dishes and the pour of red wine filling the silence at first, but there's an undercurrent I can't ignore, a tightness in the way Victor grips his glass, the way his answers to Elias's light-hearted questions come clipped and short. I try to bridge the gap, asking about their latest venture, but Victor just nods, muttering something about figures and timelines, while Elias leans in, his eyes catching mine with a warmth that feels almost too personal in this cold room. The meal drags on, each bite of tender meat and buttery potatoes tasting heavier with every passing minute. I notice how Victor's attention keeps drifting, his fingers tapping against the table like he's counting down to something, while Elias seems determined to keep the mood afloat, recounting a ridiculous story about a client who insisted on pairing a rare vintage with fast food. I smile, but it's forced, because I can feel the weight of whatever's unsaid pressing down on us. It's always like this lately, me caught between Victor's distance and Elias's effortless charm, trying to navigate a space that feels more like a battlefield than a home. I catch Elias watching me once, his expression softening for just a moment, and I look away quickly, my cheeks warming for reasons I don't want to dwell on. As we finish, the plate's nearly empty. Victor pushes back his chair with a suddenness that makes me jump a little. He mutters something about needing to check on a delivery manifest in his study, his voice clipped, his eyes avoiding mine as he stands. I nod, though he's already halfway out of the room, his footsteps echoing down the hall. The air feels thinner without him, but heavier too, like the space he left behind is charged with something I can't name. Elias leans back in his chair, swirling the last of his wine in his glass, his gaze lingering on me in a way that makes my skin prickle. He's always like this after a long day, Elias says, his tone light, but his eyes searching. You okay, Dahlia? I force a smile, stacking the plates to give my hands something to do. Yeah, I'm fine. Just, you know how it is. I don't elaborate, and he doesn't push, but there's a quiet understanding in the way he nods. Then, as if on impulse, he stands, grabbing a couple of empty wine bottles from the table. Hey, why don't we take these down to the cellar? Save Victor a trip later. I know he's particular about where they go. My heart stumbles at the suggestion. The cellar. That forbidden space I've only ever glimpsed from the top of the stairs. I hesitate, the weight of Victor's unspoken rules pressing against me, but Elias's easy grin and the glint of mischief in his eyes pull at something reckless in me. Sure, I hear myself say, my voice quieter than I mean it to be. Let's do it. We head downstairs, the air growing cooler with each step, the scent of earth and aged wood seeping into my senses as we reach the heavy door at the bottom. Elias fumbles with the spare key Victor keeps on a hook nearby, apparently not as off-limits to him as it is to me, and the lock clicks open with a sound that feels louder than it should. The door creaks as it swings inward, revealing a dim, cavernous space lit only by a few flickering bulbs strung along the ceiling. Rows of wine racks stretch into the shadows, bottles gleaming like dark jewels, and the air is thick with the musty tang of cork and thyme. It's colder down here, almost damp, and I wrap my arms around myself as I step inside, feeling like I've crossed some invisible line I wasn't meant to cross. Elias is right behind me, his presence a warm contrast to the chill, his shoulder brushing mine as he sets the empty bottles on a nearby shelf. Quite the collection, huh? He murmurs, his voice low, almost reverent, but there's an edge to it, like he's testing the silence. I nod, my eyes darting around, taking in the sheer scale of it all. There's something intimate about being here, in Victor's sacred space, like I'm seeing a part of him he's kept hidden. But it's not just that. It's Elias, too, standing so close I can feel the heat of him, smell the faint spice of his cologne mixing with the earthy air. My pulse quickens, and I step away, pretending to study a label on a bottle. but I can feel his gaze on me, steady and unyielding. "Dahlia," he says softly, and there's something in the way he says my name that makes me turn, my breath catching. He's closer now, his eyes dark and searching, and before I can think, before I can stop myself, he reaches out, his hand brushing against mine. It's just a touch, barely anything, but it ignites something in me. A spark I've been trying to smother for longer than I care to admit. I should pull away. I know I should. Victor's face flashes in my mind, his sharp features, the way he looked at me tonight with that distant, distracted gaze. My loyalty to him is a weight on my chest, a promise I made years ago under a different sky. But Elias is here, real and warm, his fingers lingering against mine, and the pull of him is stronger than I expected, stronger than I'm prepared to resist. My heart is a drum in my chest, each beat echoing in the damp, quiet air of the cellar. I'm frozen, caught in this moment that feels like it's teetering on the edge of something dangerous, something I can't take back. Elias's hand is still on mine, his touch light but electric, and I can see the question in his eyes, the unspoken invitation. I open my mouth to say something, anything, to break this tension. But before a single word can escape, a shadow moves at the edge of my vision. I turn my head, and there he is. Victor. Standing at the entrance of the cellar, his tall frame filling the doorway, the dim light casting sharp angles across his face. My stomach drops, a cold wave of guilt crashing over me as I yank my hand away from Elias, the motion too quick, too obvious. Victor's eyes, those piercing, unreadable eyes, take in the scene before him, flicking from me to Elias and back again. The silence is suffocating, thicker than the musty air around us, and I brace myself for the storm I'm sure is coming. I've crossed a line, not just by being down here in his sacred space, but by letting this moment with Elias linger too long. I wait for the anger, the sharp words, the betrayal I know I deserve, but it doesn't come. Instead, Victor steps forward, his movement slow and deliberate, his expression not one of rage, but of something else, something I can't quite place. There's a calmness to him, a stillness that's more unnerving than any outburst could be. He stops a few feet away, his hands clasped behind his back, and just watches us. The weight of his gaze is unbearable, like he's peeling back every layer of me, seeing every thought I've tried to hide. Elias shifts beside me, his earlier confidence faltering, and I can sense him waiting for Victor to speak, just as I am. "Dahlia," Victor finally says, his voice low and steady, almost too calm for the situation. "I see you found your way down here after all." There's no accusation in his tone, no heat, just a quiet observation that somehow cuts deeper than any shout. I swallow hard, my throat dry, searching for an explanation, an apology, anything to fill the void. "Victor, we were just—" I stammer, but he raises a hand, silencing me with the smallest gesture. "No need to explain," he says, his lips curving into something that's not quite a smile, more like the ghost of one. "I've been expecting this." His words hang in the air, heavy with meaning I can't yet grasp. Expecting this? My mind races, replaying every moment of the evening, every glance, every touch. What does he mean? Has he seen the way I've looked at Elias? The way I've lingered on his laughter when Victor's turned away? Has he sensed the distance between us growing into something more tangible? Something that could pull me towards someone else? Victor takes another step closer, his eyes never leaving mine, and I feel like I'm shrinking under the weight of his scrutiny. "You think I didn't notice?" he continues, his voice still eerily composed. "The way you've been drifting, Dahlia. The way you've been searching for something I haven't given you. And Elias—" He turns his gaze to his business partner, who stands rigid now, his usual ease replaced by a wary tension. I knew you'd be the one to step in, to offer what I couldn't, or wouldn't. My breath catches, a mix of shame and confusion swirling inside me. He's not angry, he's not even surprised. It's as if he's been waiting for this exact moment, as if he's seen it coming from miles away. Victor, I didn't mean for... I start again. But he shakes his head, cutting me off once more. I orchestrated this, Dahlia, he says, his words slicing through the fog in my mind like a blade. I wanted to see how far you'd go, how far both of you would go. His gaze lingers on me, heavy with a truth I'm not sure I'm ready to face. My heart hammers in my chest, each beat a frantic question mark. Orchestrated? The word echoes in my mind, sharp and cold, like a splinter I can't pull out. What does he mean by that? Has this all been some kind of test? A game I didn't even know I was playing? I glance at Elias, hoping for some kind of anchor, but his face is a mask of unease, his jaw tight, his eyes avoiding mine. The air in the cellar feels thicker now, oppressive, like it's pressing down on my shoulders, making it hard to breathe. Victor, I manage, my voice trembling despite my best efforts to steady it. What are you talking about? Orchestrated how? I need answers, need to understand why he's standing there so composed while my world feels like it's unraveling. My hands clench at my sides, the guilt from moments ago morphing into something hotter, something angrier. If he's been manipulating us, if he's been pulling strings just to watch us stumble, then what does that say about the past 8 years? About the quiet dinners, the locked doors, the distance I've tried so hard to bridge? He tilts his head slightly, studying me like I'm a puzzle he's finally solved. I've always believed in chaos, Dahlia, he says, his voice smooth, almost hypnotic. Not the kind that destroys, but the kind that reveals. The kind that strips away the lies we tell ourselves, the masks we wear. I've watched you wear yours for years, pretending you're content, pretending the silence between us doesn't eat at you. And Elias? He turns to him again, his tone sharpening just a fraction. You've worn yours too, hiding behind charm, pretending you don't want what's not yours to take. I wanted to see the truth. I wanted to see what happens when the masks come off. His words hit me like a wave, cold and relentless, dragging me under. Chaos. Truth. Is that what this is to him? Some grand experiment to expose what's been simmering beneath the surface? I think of all the times I've swallowed my doubts, all the nights I've lain awake wondering why he's so far away even when he's right beside me. And now, to hear that he's been pushing us toward this moment, waiting for me to crack, waiting for Elias to cross a line, it's too much. My chest tightens, a storm of emotions swirling inside me. Anger, betrayal, shame, and something else. Something raw and aching that I can't name. Victor, this isn't a game, I snap, my voice breaking through the quiet of the cellar, louder than I intend. These are our lives. My feelings, my mistakes, they're not pieces on a chessboard for you to move around. How could you do this? How could you stand there and act like you're above it all, like you've got no skin in this? My hands are shaking now, and I don't try to hide it. I step forward, closing the distance between us, my eyes locked on his, searching for something. Regret. Pain. Anything to show he feels the weight of this too. But his expression remains unreadable. A wall I can't break through. And it only fuels the fire in me. He doesn't flinch, doesn't step back. Instead, he holds my gaze, his voice dropping even lower, almost a whisper. Because I needed to know, Dahlia. I needed to know if there was anything left to salvage, or if we've just been going through the motions. And I think you needed to know too. You've been lost, haven't you? Looking for something to fill the spaces I've left empty. I gave you the chance to find it, or to face it. I want to scream at him, to tell him he's wrong, that I haven't been lost, that I've been trying. God, I've been trying so hard to hold us together. But the words stick in my throat because there's a kernel of truth in what he's saying, a bitter pill I've been avoiding for too long. I stand there, rooted to the cold stone floor of the cellar, the damp air clinging to my skin like a second layer of doubt. My mind is a whirlwind, replaying every moment of this night, every word Victor has just thrown at me like a gauntlet. I can still feel the ghost of Elias's touch on my hand, the heat of that fleeting connection, and the guilt that surged when Victor appeared in the doorway. But now, there's something else rising in me, something beyond the shame and anger, a need to take control, to stop being a pawn in whatever game Victor thinks he's playing. I take a deep breath, the musty scent of aged wine and earth grounding me, and I step back, putting space between me and both of them. Elias is still silent, his presence a shadow at the edge of my vision, but I can't focus on him right now. My eyes are on Victor, on the man I've shared a life with, the man who just admitted to orchestrating this chaos to test me, to test us. And as I look at him, really look at him, I see something I've missed before, a flicker of uncertainty behind that composed mask, a crack in the wall he's built around himself. Maybe he's not as detached as he wants me to believe. Maybe he's just as lost as I've been, but that doesn't excuse what he's done. It doesn't erase the manipulation, the way he's pushed me to the edge just to see if I'd fall. I shake my head, my voice steadier now, though it still carries the weight of everything I'm feeling. You don't get to decide how I find my truth, Victor. You don't get to play God with my emotions, with our marriage. If you wanted to know if there's anything left to salvage, you could have talked to me. You could have opened up instead of locking yourself away with your bottles and your secrets. Instead, you chose this, pushing me into a corner, waiting for me to break. Well, I'm not breaking. Not for you, not for anyone. His eyes narrow just slightly, the first real reaction I've seen from him since this conversation began. But he doesn't interrupt. I keep going, the words spilling out like a dam has burst inside me. I've spent years trying to reach you, trying to understand why you've pulled away, why this house feels more like a museum than a home. I've blamed myself, wondered what I did wrong, what I could do better. But tonight, standing here in this cellar, I see it clearer than I ever have. It's not just about me, it's about you too. You're hiding something, Victor, and it's not just behind this locked door. It's in you. And I'm done waiting for you to let me in. I pause, my chest heaving, the silence of the cellar wrapping around us like a shroud. Victor's face is still a mask, but there's a tension in his jaw now, a tightness that tells me my words have hit something deep. Elias shifts uncomfortably, and I can feel his gaze on me, but I don't turn to him. This isn't about him, not really. This is about me and Victor, about the life we've built, and the cracks we've ignored for far too long. And it's about me deciding what comes next. I turn away from both of them, my eyes tracing the rows of bottles, their dark glass reflecting the dim light like tiny mirrors. Each one holds a story, a vintage, a piece of time captured and preserved. And in a way, that's what I've been trying to do with my marriage, preserve something that's been slipping away, holding on to a version of us that might not exist anymore. But standing here, in this cold, sacred space that Victor has guarded so fiercely, I realize I don't want to preserve anymore. I want to redefine. I want to rebuild, not on his terms or anyone else's, but on mine. I close my eyes for a moment, letting the weight of that decision settle over me. I can almost feel the warmth of newfound freedom enveloping me, ready to guide me as I step forward into a future of my own making. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.